Time now to round up one of the biggest headlines of this week. The Environmental Protection Agency has an ambitious 2015 agenda, one that's getting added scrutiny. The EPA says it prefers a new lower threshold for ozone pollution of 65 to 70 parts per billion to cut levels of smog-forming pollution. The current standard is 75 parts per billion. Meeting the stricter rules will cost industry nearly $4 billion by 2025. So is this the right way to help the environment and public health, or is it a costly government overreach? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you. You can weigh in on our Fox 26 Facebook page or on Twitter. Use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom is our Fox 26 legal analyst, Chris Tritico, with our Roundup panel. Hey, Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, you know, Houston, always known as that smog capital of the world. This is going to have a huge effect on us.
It is. Before we start, I have to acknowledge that Sam Houston State University, the greatest university in Texas, did win their first playoff game.
I see the orange tie.
Yesterday.
Congratulations.
So we're moving ahead towards another national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
and moving on to ozone.
On to ozone. You know, it's going to affect not only Houston but the entire country. But if you look at the environmentalist argument, the $4 billion over the next 20 years is not that great an investment when you're reducing the smog that's creating an ozone problem worldwide. The problem that I think you're going to hear from the other side is that this is going to cost jobs, and if we're the only country in the world doing it, and you've got China and South America pumping out smog at will, what good is it going to do for us to do that? I think that's the other argument that you're going to hear. Let me introduce our panel. Mustafa Tamiz, our political analyst, Jackie Bally, our public policy analyst. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning. We'll start with you. The president started talking about this in his first term.
Correct.
Delayed it until after the midterm. Now the EPA is announcing a reduced standard than what he first said.
The reason why he delayed it is because even though it is reduced from what he first stated, it's still overreach. It's still onerous. Look, my youngest son has asthma, or he did, and he's a typical person. His health has improved significantly, and studies have shown that public health has improved overall, even with the current standards that we have in place. In other words, the current standards that we have in place have been working for the last 40 years. Smog and ozone have reduced significantly. If we have these standards that are working, why are we going to put more onerous and overreaching, overbearing standards on these factories, on these all of these companies, when we already have something that's working and in place?
What about that? If smog is reducing, I don't know if it is reducing, but if smog is reducing, as Jackie says, why do we need to go further?
Well, for the past 40 years, the EPA has been increasing standard, and that's why some of the things have been getting better. But we have more asthma today than we ever had. 1 out of 12 Americans has asthma. We, as a nation, spend over $56 billion a year treating asthma. So if the industry has to come up with $4 billion in the next 10 years, that's the least that they can do to make the air better so our kids don't grow up coughing and carrying inhalers. Because when I was growing up, we didn't carry inhalers in our pockets. But when you go to any American school now, you see kids in their pockets and their backpacks having inhalers.
All right, let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay, let's take a look at a couple of these tweets. The first one is from Air Alliance Houston. They're a group here in Houston. They say, what's important to the TCEQ commissioner about the new ozone standard? Not lives saved or asthma attacks. He's referring to the TCEQ opposing these new EPA ozone standards. The chairman has come out to say that the state's research shows lowering the smog limit would not provide a noticeable health benefit.
But and I think, Sally, the issue that you're going to be hearing is it's not necessarily an overall immediate health benefit, but a long-term benefit that they're looking for in creating and not depleting the ozone any further. Isn't that really the issue, Jackie? The EPA on these new standards is giving till at the furthest 2037 for businesses to comply. The businesses who have the most to do have till 2037 to comply. Spreading that cost out over almost 25 years is really not that overburdensome, is it?
Yes, it is, because again, the reason why the TCEQ commissioner and other countries, you notice other countries are not following the lead of this country. The reason why they're not doing that is because of exactly what the commissioner has stated, that studies are showing that even with the next 25 years, if we're going to spread out what they're implementing, it's not going to have significant benefits to the overall public health. So in other words, instead of trying to say we're going to do this for the benefit of public health, and studies are already showing that's not going to happen, we need to look at other regulations. So yes, that is a problem because it's not really helping or doing what they're saying they want to do, or accomplishing what they say they want to accomplish.
The Republicans say the president is overreaching on this, but he clearly has the authority as the president to issue regulations like this.
Well, I mean, look, the Republican Party tends to sometimes be an advocate for the industry without really being advocate for Americans. The president went out to China, negotiated a deal in terms of making air better globally. So other countries are following.
And China signed off on that.
And China signed off on it. So other countries are following if we lead in this area. But if we decide to sit back, not only the air will get worse for us, but for all people living on the planet.
But does there come a time that we have regulated so much that industry can't afford to keep pace?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think that the industry needs to be careful in the sense that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. For the next 25 years, $4 billion not even drop in the bucket. So rather than fighting every single point, even when it's not true, it's not good for the industry because they will lose the public support.
Well, China signed off on the current clean air standards, which have been significantly improving our health and improving the ozone. That's a fact. You can look at any studies, it shows that. The current standards, not the other regulations that the president is imposing
Not the new standards.
or trying to impose. And there's a reason why he delayed it after elections, because he knew what that would mean.
Well, they all delayed things. I mean, the
Right.
Benghazi thing.
Right,
didn't
but
come
he
out
knows
till
what the
after election either.
what that political statement would
Right.
be, and he knows the general public would
Real
not
quick,
support it.
real quick, we got to go.
Well, look, the last time these standards were created, the industry said the exact same thing that they're saying right now, that it would, cost jobs, that it was too burdensome. But we met those standards, and we're better off for it.
And we're going to leave it right
again.
there. Sally, we're going to cut Mustafa off. I'm sorry. We'll be back in a little bit with another
All right,
good
we'll
topic.
see you in the next half hour. Thanks, guys. Let's send it over to Caitlin.